In this footage, we will start using the GUI of the evaluation kit for the first time in these video sessions. This is going to be a long session of getting started, so I've separated the sessions into part A and part B. I'll go through the various pieces and bits that needs to be configured before we can dive into the heart of the test platform. In part A of the getting started session, I will start revising the GUI modes of displays, showing the primary and secondary screen, and also revise the communication. Let's start the TVI. Double click on the shortcut that we've made on the desktop. Now in the main screen we have a list here of product configuration. I'll go through that later on in one of the sessions in the future. Let's remain this on Pioneer. The hardware profile drop-down box will determine the secondary screen that pops up. We'll discuss that later as well. So I leave this as responsivity at the moment. So when we launch the TVI, we get three screens that pops up, and I'll explain them now. We'll revise them for a short. Let's have some annotation. So the main screen of the TVI is here on the background. That's the main screen of TVI. Here we have the primary screen. The primary screen is the screen that governs the board, the actual board, the Pioneer and Ranger board. And on the left side we have a screen that we call it responsivity. In our case it holds, this is the secondary screen, and it holds the light source and the tech control. Now both primary and secondary, we can govern them from the main screen. The primary screen we can control from here, and the secondary we can control from here. We can hide and we can show them. Hide and show. Now you can see here there's also close in each of these screens. We can actually close them. Now you have to understand that these screens also makes the communication with the hardware. These screens make communication with the light source and the temperature control. So when we open those screens, it will start to make the communication. It will initiate the communication with the hardware that is hooked to this screen. Now, so let's close these for a second. I don't need them now. I want to concentrate on this button, the resource button. That button responsible for the communication. We need to go through that button. I've made here a small sketch. In this resource, and I will show it here, we have the hardware profile and product parameters and external. In the resource we can control the hardware profiles, and we have for each profile, in our case responsivity, either angular, quantum, or the responsivity again. We can control the hardware resource that is connected with this profile, the hardware resource, the results path, and the external, which is the secondary screen. For each profile that we select, we can define hardware that is connected with it, the results path, and the externals. In our case, we started, when we launched the TVI, we started with responsivity. So you can see that in the resource screen, the hardware will point to responsivity. And here we have 4 hardwares that are connected with this profile. We have the light source, virtual bench, which is a multimeter. This is not relevant to our session. The Pioneer board and the tech control. Important for us is the tech control. You can see that there is COM6 here. Double click and we can go to edit screen. You do not change this, no change to the family, do not touch any of these. You can only change the communication port, which is relevant to your PC. If your tech is hooked with the COM3, 4, 5, you change here the number, and you can either enable or disable, online or offline. You can set it offline. If you don't have a tech, click on done. You can see that this is offline. Virtual bench, you can also define it as offline. Done. Then you need to save and exit. In our case, we have the tech is online. In the light source, you can see the IP address. The Pioneer, you can see the IP address here. I can also try the communication going to the command line and make a ping. Let's ping to the Pioneer board. Ping. (22) 11. And you can see that we have a communication with the Pioneer board. Light source. This is the IP address of the light source. Let's ping it as well. Also, we have a communication with that. So, in this part A of getting started, we revised the primary screen, the secondary screen, and the resource panel. In the resource panel, I want to repeat, we have the hardware. In this tab, we have the results. We can change the results path. I will discuss that later more deeply in one of the future videos. And here, there's also a button for the external. That external determines the secondary screen. Secondary program that we initiate is the responsivity. That's the screen here. That's the responsivity primary secondary screen, and that's the alias, which is the naming that appears here. So on the resource manager, we have the hardware responsivity, hardware profile, results path, and externals. No need to change anything here. If you have a good communication, these are the 2 lines that you should have, and also in here. Light, set continuous, initialize, and the tech is initialized. That's it for part A.